Today you are here at the brisket cook, and this brisket cook is going to be very different from anything in the past. We're definitely going to be whimsical farm today. We've got a brisket that measures in here at 8 inches wide, about 9 inches wide. So I measured this nice, big, heavy-duty cook pot. This is a nice Dutch oven. It has been well treated and oiled, and we're going to stuff this whole thing in there. I measured it sidewalls right at 4.5 inches. So this is 9-inch wide brisket. We have cut it right down the middle. So let's start with a big piece like this, and let's see which side's the fat side. That's the fat side right there. And I'm going to stuff that thing right in this great big Dutch oven. Look at that. That thing is stuffed in there. Let's turn it over and put that big fat side, the big heavy side, down. Doing this one-handed as usual. Look at that. Now we got him down. He is down with that. Now that's packed in there. Let's pack him right against the wall. Some people say, oh, don't let it touch. It'll ruin everything. We're going to let it touch. Then we're going to take this other section and try to get it packed in there because it's cut at 4.5 also. So how can we do that? How can that be done? Well, let's put the fat side out. We'll put the fat side out and put it right there where it fills in that spot. Wrap his skinny little tail around so the skinny little tail doesn't get burned up, and poke that down the hole. Like that. Poke it down the hole. I'm going to turn him over. I'm going to poke that down in there until we get it down in there all the way. Get in the pot. Now that's how you have to do a brisket sometimes. You have to get a little rough on them. Okay. So now then, the next step, there's 14.5 pounds of brisket packed in. Let me lift this one part up just a skosh. Bring that tail around, get it where it looks somewhat nice. That looks nice now, doesn't it? Does to me. The fat part is riding against the iron, and we're going to cook this at 250 in a vertical smoker. So the next thing I'm going to do is going to require both hands. All I'm going to do is take this garlic right here. I'm going to take the garlic and put that in there. Some cloves of it sprinkled and some onions sprinkled in there. And we're not using onion bumpers on this because we're really going to cook low. About 250 is going to be my absolute max. So I'll check it from time to time, make sure it's not burning. But we're going to take a digital probe, and I have cut a slot. Let me show you this little detail, kind of cool little detail. I took my angle grinder and I cut a slot right there in the pan. You see that little slot? That's for my thermal wire to go through there. And we'll put that thermistor, the probe, will lay in there. When I put the lid on there, it won't damage my wire. So it still looks factory when you put the lid on it. Sorry for the noise. When you put the lid on it, it still looks factory. See, it's a very small hole right there. And the lip is even going down in there some. But I've already tested this with a piece of wire that was even bigger than my thermal probe. So it's going to fit just fine. I didn't want to drill a hole in the top of the pot. So hope you're enjoying it so far. And please keep coming back. We're going to have a nice big fire. And I'm going to show you what a fire should not look like for cooking open frame here just in a minute. So come on back and I'll show you when we load it. Okay, this is a special day back at the cook shack where we're going to do brisket, but we're not going to do the typical brisket at all. This, believe it or not, is going to be brisket in a cast iron Dutch oven. Now, I'm making some preparations on this fire. This is kind of a crazy day. I'm showing you how a fire should not look if you're going to have your brisket out in the open. That would be no good. You'll see why here in a minute. Notice I got some pre-cooked wood in here. See that? That's pre-cooked. It's almost on fire. We're going to go ahead and get our pre-cooked wood out. Put it in the bottom. That's good and hot and dry now. Pre-cooked that about 30 minutes. Don't have to put any seasoning on that. It's just firewood. You can see the evidence. It is pre-cooked. Nice and dry, nice and hot. That way when I go to put it in there, It will light. It will not be waiting on it to light. That one got, look at it, smoking a little bit. It won't relight though. And we got to do one more thing, two more things. We've got to make room for the pot. So we want the pot to be, it's pretty heavy. And I'm gonna say I want to put it down here on the bottom, but we got to put water in there first. We'll put the pot up here. Let's keep it a little bit safer, a little bit away from the fire. Even though I had to pick it up a little higher. You got a little piece of wood in there that's burning, that's fine. That is a dry pan. I don't want that. I need the protection that a nice thing of water will offer. I'm gonna set you down for just a second. That got a little bit crazy, but now we got a pan of water, and I'll add some of that water to that as we go. But anyway, you can see the fire. That's a pretty good sized fire. Now watch what happens. We're gonna shut this down. We're gonna shut that down about half throttle so it can't burn near as fast. We're gonna set the top throttle down to really dampered off. Our target temperature today is gonna be 250. Let's see what we got it set at. What do you know? It is set properly at 250. 250 is when it will begin to give me an alarm. That lets me know I need to do something. So we don't want to exceed 250. The next step is, let's see what we're cooking again. Let's see if the dogs got it. They might have got in here and got my meat. Let's see here. Oh gosh, look at that. That is a brisket snake. That's a brisket that's 14.5 pounds. It measured right at 9 inches wide, and that included the little skinny flare up. Pushed it back a little bit to get that number. I wanted to see 9 inches. And I cut that right down the middle with a sharp knife and got it at 4.5. So this nice Dutch oven is 4.5 inches tall on the walls. It is 12 inches across. So now you know, if you've got a 12-inch wide Dutch oven that's 4.5 inches deep, you can put a 14.5 pound brisket and one full onion and 2 heads of garlic in there. So that's what we got. I didn't add any water at all because I know it's going to render a lot. And I got the fat cap is out against the iron, so we'll see how that goes. One more thing we got to do, we'll put this in there first because I've got to make it where I can get that wire in there. So I cut a notch out. The notch is right there. You can see the notch. See the notch? So we'll set it in there first. See if I can do this. I don't know if I can do this one-handed. We'll try. Gosh, that is heavy. Got a piece of iron there that's probably 14, 15 pounds. And then 14.5 pounds of meat. So that's 30 pounds with one hand. I'm getting my carnivore diet's getting me stronger. So we'll leave that handle back on the back side. That's fine. I'll have gloves on when I go to get it. Let's feed this probe in here. Wipe this probe off a little bit and get him fed in through a hole. There's a hole right here. Let's see if he'll go through there. There he is. He's coming on board. I got to get him while he's still cool. We're going to go to the thickest part of the meat, right in the middle. And you know what? Let's go on the outside. We want to stay safe. We want to make sure we don't overcook it. So we'll go on the outside, closest to the iron. And there's our reading. And then let's close this up, see what we get. And let's look at our smoke. Now our smoke may be going crazy. No, it's actually running pretty clean. That surprises me. Probably because I pre-cooked the wood. We'll check the fire one more time. One more time. See, it's burning nice and slow and steady. It's not smoldering. I'm gonna go ahead and push that. That one log needs a little poke, doesn't it? He's already lighting on one side. We'll roll him back. Roll him back a little bit. Make him behave. I want him to light up good. There we go. Now him's even better. A little air space here and there. Now leave some air space in your wood. Don't let it get against the wall all the way. So now we're looking pretty good looking fire. I like that. And it is trying to fire up again just because I opened the door. So we do not worry about this one smoldering or smoking because we are sealed up. And that has already hit 250 real quick. This is down in the 200 range. It's coming on up. And this one's already hitting 250. So those are nice. I got to do one more thing before I forget. And that is I need to put the lid on there. Almost forgot my lid. That would have been terrible. So to get the lid on there, we're going to do one more thing. Always one more thing. That's already getting warm. Let's move this little thermometer over. Get myself a little bit of slack. And that's going to have to change angle just a little bit. I didn't think about that all the way. Let's see, get a little oven mitt here. Got to have a place. That's why I cut that slot, lay that wire in there. So we're going to come in at an angle because that lid's only going to give me so much room to play. Come in with the stabber, get that probe in there deep, and then lay him over. Now that's better. Now he's in at an angle. I'll put this down in the slot. Let's see if I can do this without burning my finger off. Fun to do all this with one hand by yourself. Now, got him in the slot. See that? Him is in the slot. No problem. And get the lid. This lid has a lip front and back. Let's see if I can get that. Get in the slot, buddy. Don't get stupid on me. Things try to get stupid sometimes when you're videoing. Okay, so we're not stupid. We got a little lip on the front. Same thing on the back. Check this. Check. Make sure we got slack. Nothing bound up there, nothing tight. And now we'll get an accurate reading of that meat, the outboard piece, because that's what I want to know. I want to know what, I don't want that to burn. And look at that. We will slide this electronics away from the stove because we don't want it to burn. I'll pull my cattywampus out here. This is a set where I can pull it out a little bit. That needs a custom black paint job or something. That's just a piece of angle iron that I found. It used to be something for clothing. One of those racks you put on the wall. We repurposed it. So anyway, we're 50 degrees. You can tell that brisket definitely just came from Rollmart. And we'll come back out when that gets a 175. 175, you normally would wrap it with paper. We're going to go ahead and lay it out and let it finish up out in the open. See how it goes from there. So we appreciate you coming by. Give a little tap on that subscribe button and like button. Hope that you learned something good. I know that I am already learning. And this is by far my first time to do a brisket in a Dutch oven. Our exhaust is looking really clean for as much wood in there. It's not even lit. It's doing fantastic. We got some pre-cooked wood down here that's trying to light. And we don't want to do that because guess what? That'll burn up my whole grill. We don't want to do that. So our pre-lit wood, we just we dodged a bullet on that. Put him out there. He was trying to show off a little bit. So if you got pre-lit wood and it's really good and dry, don't pile it up in a pile because they might help each other. There we go. So now we're good on that. All right, you get to see some craziness out here today. I'm telling you, on Whimsical Farm, we're very careful people. We're very careful because we do a lot of crazy stuff. So you got to learn how to be very careful and crazy simultaneously. So we'll be back. See you later. Bye-bye. Well, we made it through the night here at the Cook Shack, and I didn't figure that you want to stay up with me all night to watch this thing finish at 10, 12, 14 hours. So one thing you'll notice in the last video, if you saw where it said something about a pole, you'll notice that if you have a big, powerful vertical smoker like this, you do not want to have it very close to a piece of wood. And so this is no good. If you see, oh, what is this? It came loose from the building. Yeah, I cut it out of there. I got rid of that piece of wood because that's no good. I almost set my building on fire. So we got rid of that and have installed a new piece of wood. You'll notice that my concrete form is missing a piece of wood here, but that's okay. We are gonna just keep rolling on. So the new piece of wood has been installed. properly attached with a whole bunch of 3.5-inch screws. And it's even got a step plate there to hold it in. So now we're good and level. Let's check out this brisket. Uh-oh. That's not good. Somebody got my brisket. Let's check out this fire. Uh-oh, there's no fire. Some of my pre-cooked wood is still there. Let's see if we can find this brisket. Oh, there it is. There's my brisket. Wait a minute. There's no brisket. That's just a bunch of gorgeous looking au jus. Well, let's see. Somebody has rearranged my furniture out here. I used to have a smoker on the right and an oven on the left. And now my oven's on the right-hand side. And what is this? A new oak shelf installed for my dry rub, my starter fluid. That's starter fluid now. Alcohol and avocado blended together. Don't put that on your food. A teapot, spatulosis. What is this? Oh, there's a digital gauge. That's hooked up to something. Let's see what's going on here. I think my wife's been out here messing with my brisket, building me new shelves. What a sweet wife. Let's see what's in here. What could this be? Oh my goodness. Brisket. Oh gosh, look at that. Brisket with a bark, swimming in its own juices. Golly, does that not look good? Now, the question is, we're at 189 degrees internal. We're getting close. Let's do a wiggle test. That's what a big spatula is for. This is a wiggle test. Let's see how flexible it is. We're getting there. We're getting there. It ain't there yet, but we're almost there. How about this one? Oh, he's still a little stiff, but he's getting soft. He's getting soft. He's sleepy. But that looks good. Got the probe in the right place. Now, one thing I don't want to do, I don't want to lose any of that due to evaporation. So what have we got here that could take it? Oh, hi, Charlie Brown. What are you doing? Oh, look at that. A nice lid. Let's take this lid. We'll put that on top of that, and that will prevent evaporation. I like that plan right there because we want to keep that au jus just as it is. Our bark is okay. It might get a little soft, but we're not worried about that. Now what we'll do, give you some details on this. I'm going to let that go ahead and go on up to right at 200 degrees. I'll come back out and keep checking it. We're cooking, we're precision finishing this with the oven, gas oven. Now this is the beauty of having a cook shack right here. There's nothing wrong with that vertical smoker, except that it did not do really good on low temperatures unless you fed it real small pieces of wood frequently. And I mean, it's just really hard to maintain exactly 250. So good to cook in, especially in the beginning when the meat's real cold. You can air a little bit. You can hit some 275s and 300s and not ruin anything. I had it in that pot. When I opened that pot up, it was full of juices. Poured that off and saved some of them. But anyway, back to this gas stove. Let's talk about this for a minute. The beauty of this is when you finish a brisket, one of the most important things you can do when it's really getting loose and limber, you don't want to overcook it. It's kind of a catch-22 there. Around 190, 195 in that range, maybe 200. You don't want to cook past that. If it'll wiggle really nice and soft, jiggly at 190, that's fine. All you need to do is keep it there for a while. It's about the hours. It's not about keeping the temperature going up. And I learned this from a scientific guy. If the meat reaches 190 and you can hold it there for maybe even another hour or two exactly at that point, it will continue to render and get softer and softer without getting overcooked. So that's a trick. The next trick that's important to do is once you're sure the brisket's done, it's tender, it passes the poke test with a probe, it feels like nice butter, almost room temperature butter, you know that the brisket is done. You're sure of it. Yeah, it is not the time to eat that brisket. This is an important step I learned from the pros. That brisket needs to sit and rest for about 6 hours. 6 hours of rest. And say, what's it going to do in 6 hours? Well, those juices you saw in that pan, it's going to suck a bunch of those juices back up. It's going to settle out. It's just going to, all those seasonings on the top will start to penetrate the meat. There's just a lot of good things that happen. So on a stove like this, one of the precision things you can do is, it has a keep warm setting, and I thought that was going to do it for me, but it doesn't. That keeps it at 170. But you can go in and hit bake mode and go down to 150. And some people like to just take the meat off and throw it in a cooler and pack it full of towels and all that. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to set my stove up at 150, and then I'm going to let it run at 150 for that 6 hours, which is going to be my warm mode. That way that meat never can drop below that. It'll just stay right there and it'll just coast. And it can soak up some more juices or whatever it does when it settles. So I'm looking forward to that, see how it goes. So we'll be back with you on the last part of it when we bring it out and begin to cut it up and do some taste testing and really show it off with that au jus and make it look restaurant quality. So it worked pretty good in the old Dutch oven. Not my favorite way to cook one, but if that's all you had and you were out camping, you could definitely do one in the Dutch oven. So next time we'll probably just do a chuck roast in there, and it won't be quite as dramatic, not as much work. So we look forward to seeing you back, and I hope you're enjoying the video. Be back in just in a little while. Bye-bye. All right, this is now finished up with its settling process of 6 hours. So we are ready to try this brisket. This brisket was cooked. It was cut in half, as you can see, and it was cooked in a nice big cast iron Dutch oven. So I'm going to move this over so we can try this with a cutting board. There is our brisket, 1/2 of a brisket. So we'll do what you're supposed to do, which is cut the point. This thick part's the point. This is the flat. We're going to cut this right here in half. That cut, that sure didn't have no problem cutting. Wow, does that look nice, all right? They always do this on the movie, so I've got to do this on all the other videos and shows. They always show that it has juice right there. Look at that, man, just like a pro. All right, now I'm going to turn this guy around. I'm going to slice him and make him as professional as possible. 1 pencil width. And we'll make the cut right here. And real careful like, try not to tear it up. I probably will tear it up, but we'll try not to. That knife is sharp. That's looking good. Now look at the smoke ring. That was inside a pot. I took it out of the pot at the end just to let it finish off, and look at that. It made a smoke ring from being in the oven and having that spices on top of it. That part's so tender on the bottom part, it's coming off a little bit. We'll make it work. That's not slicing off like a pretty slice, because that chunk on the end right there is a little bit dry. I guarantee you I can eat that though. That will go down the hatch. Now it's slicing a little bit better. That part on the edge is a little bit dry. It's tender. It is tender. Look at that. This is like a perfect piece right here, so we have to lay them out. Look at that. Wow, perfect piece. Look at the juice in it. Now, we got to do our pull test. I hate to do it on the perfect one. We'll back up and do it on less than perfect. Here's our pull test. Let's see what it does. Pull test. Pull test is good. It has part that's, it has part that's tender. It has part that's a little more firm. Wow. I can't shoot any more video. I gotta stop and eat now. Okay. Keep slicing. This is the part that's so deadly. Everybody says, oh gosh, don't cut what you're not gonna eat because it'll oxidize. We're gonna put it in a special container. with a lid. It's anti-oxidized lid. And I'll pour some au jus over it. And it ain't gonna oxidize. I know why, because it won't stay around here long enough. There's no oxygen in my stomach. All right, let's lay this out. One, look at that. Look at that. Lay over, buddy. Look at that. Man, that's good looking stuff. All right, so here's my super duper spatula, and we're gonna put that right back in that pan. This may not be laid out super professional, but it's gonna be pretty decent. It's gonna be good enough for me. And my wife will love it. She is the camera lady, and she's being tortured right now. You know how I know? Because I'm messing around with this meat, and I'm getting to taste it. Let's cut this point. Now, point, I'm ruthless with these. I'm gonna cut this thing this way. Cut it that way. I'm gonna cut it into squares, okay? I'm gonna cut it that way. Let's see if I can get that through there. Uh-oh, see, that part's a little bit rough. That's okay. We'll take that rough part off. Now we go. There we go. The tip of it like that gets, so that's your burnt ends right there. And then that part, we're gonna make these pretty good sized chunks. Man, that's some good looking stuff. I'm gonna turn this. I'm not a professional, but I'm a professional eater. I'm a carnivore. We eat meat. That's what we eat. Golly, now that part is super. That's like melting your mouth tender. It really is. And this end pieces right here, they're a little bit firmer, but you could tell they are. They're a little firmer. They're kind of like, got that roast beef texture to it. But this stuff, I gotta take a little piece of that. Golly, look at that. That's, wow. You talk about melting your mouth. That's $50 worth of meat, and it's worth every penny of it to me, because you don't, when you're eating meat, you're not eating ho-hos and ding-dongs and a bunch of macaroni and cheese. You're not eating all that garbage, so your body will say, I'm full, a lot faster when you're eating non-sugary meat. It just will. It'll say, we're done. You'll be satisfied a lot quicker, but when you're satisfied with this, you are really satisfied. Now, we're gonna do the same thing again, same maneuver, except I'm better at it now because I've got practice. So here's the point, big thick boy right here. That's got a real thick chunk of fat in it right there, which we are not scared of. That's our fuel. We're gonna set the point aside. Turn this around so I can control it. Look at that. This is where it's got the half lean and half a little bit fatty. We don't care. We're gonna cut this thing up and make it happen. That's gonna try to come apart on me. I can tell that. That top half is always a little bit more tough. You can see that. See, that's got more of a, kind of like grandma's roast beef. See, it's a little bit, and then this part right here is the part that's just jelly. I mean, it's good, but it's real tender. So I'm gonna slice that and try to make it work best I can. I'm gonna go fast on this because I have a feeling that there is a sweet wife on the camera that's gonna say, you are wasting time, buddy. We could be eating this right now. I'm cutting that a little bit thick so I can deal with it. Now that part is definitely dry. That part's gonna be more like jerky. It's just cause it was so thin there. That's a little thin tail, but it's still very edible. This is me trying not to cut my fingers off. Large spatula comes into the picture. There's all those beautiful slices, thick slices, whole meals in slice there. We ain't done yet. Don't give up on me. We're not done yet. We're gonna put these little rougher pieces in with end bits. End bits. And then the last, this is the point. Boy, that's got a chunk right there. It's got to come off. That's like, that's the stuff that people fight over right there. Kingdoms rise and fall over those little chunks of half-dried meat. There's for the camera lady. If you see the camera wiggle a little bit, that's probably why. These are going to be big chunks. This is very fatty right here. Very fatty. But we are going to work with it. That's very fatty, not worried. We can always render that out. We'll do a little bit more cooking on that in the pan. Every time you reheat it a little bit, that little soft jelly fat part, it'll just render out. That's not a problem. That's good meat, just very fat. All right, there's that. And then this chunk right here into squares, that's a little bit better. You can see I'm cutting against the grain there. There's the grain. You can see him. You want to keep those little cuts short on the grain so that you don't end up with a long stringy piece in your mouth. There's that. Got my big spatulosis, super spatula. By the way, these spatulas, Expert Grill from Walmart, $5. Went online, the guy complained that his wasn't super heavy duty. It didn't have this tang, didn't go all the way up in the handle and riveted military style. This is made in China, but these are not kung fu. These are not made for sword fights. These are made to gently take delicious meat off of a cutting board like this and pick it up, all 1 pound of it, and lower it down into a pan over here, and you're just not going to put that much stress on it. It's not a pry bar. It's not for taking diesel heads off the car. But for $5, I'm telling you, it's a very smooth finish. It's got a sharp edge. You could cut with it if you want to, scrape with it. I love them. You're not going to build one for $5. So I'm very happy with this brisket. Let me taste another piece of this. Last piece I pulled off. Look at that. Now that is like, I got plastic teeth. Let's test it. That's like melt in your mouth. Look at that. Delicious. Let's do it the camera way. See if she'll go for it. Now, one more step. Hey, what's another step? I'll show you. You take these pieces and you open them up as professional as you can. They don't have to be perfect, but they need to be opened up a little bit. Kind of like that. Spread them out. Make sure they're open, leaning over, all of them exact right angle, parallel, square, plumb, level, flush. And then you take God's special stuff that he gives you when you cook beef called au jus. The French call it au jus. Sounds like you're sneezing. That is the natural fats and juices, and you don't want to overdo it. You just want a thin coat of that over that meat so it doesn't dry out or oxidize. And say, well, that's too much oil. Well, it will run down in the bottom, but that's fuel for carnivore, okay? And then you save the rest. You can put that in the refrigerator and save it and let it chill, and then the hard fat will come to the top. You can skim that off and have a true au jus, which will just be the natural juices of the beef minus the heavier fat. So I am very happy with that. Even though it was cooked in a Dutch oven, the Dutch oven didn't hurt it. Now, I was surprised that you could actually take a Dutch oven. The sidewalls were 4.5 inches tall. This brisket was 9 inches. Cut it right down the middle, and I wound it up like a snake. The biggest piece on the outside, I put the fat facing the iron. Then put the second piece, watered it up in there, put the lid on. By the way, while it was cooking, I had to put a 25-pound dumbbell on top of it to keep the lid down. But delicious. Use salt and pepper, onion, garlic, and a little bit of dry rub at the end to make that pretty bark while it's finished it off. Finish it off in a precision gas-powered oven. My end temperature was 195 degrees, and then I let it rest in the oven with the oven set at 150 for 5 hours. And that's all I had to do to it. No paper involved. Thank you very much for visiting us here at Carnivore Diet with Ashley. Eat you some meat, live a lot longer, be a lot happier. Thanks again. Just tap that subscribe and like. We really appreciate it. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.